Michigan State was 5-7 in year one under Jonathan Smith. What will be the projection for 2025? Let's first look back at the last 4 years. So with our projected record formula, this is what it looked like. So in 2021, they obviously blew away the projections. They were a big surprise team. They went 10-2. Projection was just 5-7 that year. In 2022, projection went up, obviously, because they were coming off of a good year. It went up to 8-4. They went 5-7. So those years were kind of flip-flopped. Projections were not very accurate, but then 23 they were projected to go 5-7. They went 4-8, and then last year 6-6 they went 5-7. So they were under the projection by one game the last 2 years. So it's been, a difficult 3-year stretch here for Michigan State. We'll see if they can turn things around. Let's see what the projection looks like. Again, here's that schedule, and this is a scale that we use. So Michigan State is in tier 4, I believe. So yeah, tier 4. That means if they play a team in tier 5, then that's going to be a 61 to 70% game. But if that game's on the road, then it becomes a 50-50 game. That's kind of the way this works. And it's all based off of our tier rankings. There is no human element here, no predictions from me personally. It's just plug in the teams and you get what you get. So for Michigan State, you get a couple of easy games, Western Michigan and Youngstown State. Now, Western Michigan's probably closer to 80%, whereas Youngstown State's probably closer to 99%. But both do wind up in the green. And when we do the formula at the end, all the games in the green are counted as wins. So these are two games that you can count as wins. And then I think they're going to be favored in a couple more games. You've got Boston College and Maryland, a couple of tier 5 teams, so they are a tier above them. And so that's why these games are in the purple. I think Michigan State's probably going to be favored by about a touchdown in these two games. Again, that's looking at it right now. Obviously, these teams could be a lot different. Some teams change a lot from year to year. They go from being a bad team to being a good team, or a good team to a bad team, or whatever. But, our tier rankings are really, there is a lot of weight on last year with a little bit of movement just based off of what's happened in the offseason. But yeah, Michigan State favored in these two games. That means you have 4 games where you're probably going to be favored. Maybe some 50-50 type games that you could possibly be favored in, but really these 4 are the only ones that I would say for sure Michigan State looks to be a favorite in. So let's go to the other side of this, where the games where they'll be underdogs. And you got Indiana and Penn State. These games are games where Michigan State's going to be a pretty big underdog. Penn State's in tier 1, Indiana's in tier 2, but the game is on the road in Indiana. Penn State's at home. That's why they're in the same color here in that 20 to 29% range. They're probably looking at being a 2-touchdown underdog in both of these games at least. Maybe more against Penn State. And again, that's looking at this right now. Michigan State could be a lot better than we expect. We just don't know. So that's just, again, where we're kind of looking at these teams right now. So those will be tough ones. Those will be tough for Michigan State to get. Then you got a bunch of games where I think they'll be an underdog, but not a huge underdog. We're talking USC, Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota, and Iowa. All of these teams. So USC, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa all are a tier above Michigan State. And these games are on the road. But those will be tough. Michigan will also be tough. This is a team that's a couple of tiers above Michigan State, but that one's at home. Plus, it's a rivalry. And again, the rivalry does not come into account when we're doing this formula, but just something to speak on there. So these will be games where Michigan State's probably going to be about a touchdown underdog, maybe more, honestly, depending on how good these teams are. Just looking at this like from a personal, from getting that human element here, doing a prediction, some of these games might actually should be in the orange and not the yellow. I don't know. It's kind of tough. Again, a lot of question marks for USC. How much better will Nebraska be? Will Minnesota drop off? Iowa has some question marks. So these teams are not like, we don't know for sure they're going to be good. And so I think this does come out to be pretty fair to Michigan State here with those games in the yellow. And then you've got UCLA. So that's going to be your 50-50 game. I think Michigan State, because they're at home, probably going to be favored, which means they could be favored in 5 games. And if they're able to win those 5 games, you've only got to pull off one upset to get to a bowl game. Now, do I think Michigan State can be a playoff contender or get to 8 or 9 wins? I think that's going to be tough with this schedule because there are a lot of tough games. And again, potentially winnable games, USC, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, all of those games are on the road, and that does kind of make it's a tougher path for them to have a great season. with all those games that are winnable games, but they're all on the road. So that kind of makes this schedule actually a little bit tougher. You'd rather just play Penn State on the road, play Michigan on the road, and then maybe get a Minnesota or an Iowa at home. Might give you a better path. But yeah, what does it look like when we average it all out? Well, it does look like a bowl game. So the projection does get Michigan State to a bowl game, to 6-6, which would not be a great year, but it's an improvement from last year. I think Michigan State fans would at least feel like they're headed in the right direction. But yes, that is the projection. Michigan State projected to go 6-6 in 2025 with our projected record formula.